today. Today we have a very special guest. We have Arthur Gooden, who is an airline pilot with Piedmont Airlines. And we are so happy to have him here. And we're just going to talk to him about his career, how he got started. And yeah, so let's get started, Arthur. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. So, Arthur, can you tell us what exactly do you do?
All right, well, I'm an airline pilot. I fly for this company called Piedmont. However, Piedmont is owned by American Airlines. A lot of people don't understand that these bigger companies own smaller companies. So American Airlines owns three companies, and these companies fly their American Airline plane. So I usually just tell people that I fly for American Airlines.
Okay. All right. So, but what, so I'm gonna let everybody in on a little secret. You are an alumni of Andrew Jackson High School, which I am
Yep.
also an alumni. And so, Arthur, when you were in high school, did you know you wanted to become an airline pilot?
Well, to tell you the truth, I wanted to be an airline pilot since I was 8 years old.
Really?
Yeah, I was born in Jamaica. And I'll tell you a funny story. I was born in Jamaica and my mom took me to Cayman Islands when I was 8 years old. That's when I first got on a plane and I knew then and there that I wanted to be a pilot.
Okay.
Then I moved to New York when I was 12, eighth grade, went to Jackson in the 10th grade because my junior high school went up to ninth grade.
Okay.
Now, my plans was to actually join the Air Force
Okay.
because I didn't know anyone that was in aviation, didn't know any pilots, anything.
Hmm.
Back then, there weren't any internet,
Right.
so I actually had everything planned. Right after high school, I want to fly. I don't want to go to college. I just want to fly. So I'm going to the Air Force. Now, we had an Army recruiter that used to come around Jackson named Sergeant Shorey.
Okay.
So one day I was speaking on Sergeant Shorey, which was senior year for me, 1987. I just told my age. So
And mine too.
told yours too. Yeah. So um, he asked me what I was going to do after high school. I told him, well, I'm going to the Army, I'm going to the Air Force to fly planes. He said, well, let me tell you exactly what's going to happen. You go to the Air Force, you do something called basic training, and then they give you the job that they have available, not what you want. My heart broke because I wanted to fly. So I said, wait a second. So you're telling me if they want me to be a cook, I'm going to be a cook? He's like, pretty much, so that wasn't going to work for me. So, but he is like, join the Army. You get to see all the jobs available to you. You choose. If you want to go, you go. If you don't, you don't. I said, well, that's a little bit better than going and not knowing what I'm going to get and expecting to fly and end up being a cook.
Right.
So I joined the Army, did 3 years, didn't stay in there because that's not what I wanted to do. Ended up being a diesel mechanic in the Army. It was fun. I'm not gonna lie, but that's not what I wanted to do. I came home after 3 years, went to Queens College, and I kind of forgot about flying. Yeah, I ended up having my son and then my daughter, and kind of like forgot about flying. I ventured into bodybuilding and then I became a competition coach. 25th, fast forward 2015, I was on a flight going to a competition for one of my athletes, and I was getting off of a plane, and this tiny short lady, about 5 feet flat, came walking out the cockpit.
What?
Me as a macho man was like, man, if she could do it, so can I.
Right.
So, we met face to face right at the door. And I was like, I always wanted to be a pilot. She stopped. She looked at me. She's like, so why aren't you a pilot? And I'm like, well, I don't know how to go about it. And plus, I think I'm too old by now. And she literally stopped and spoke to me. 2-minute conversation changed my life. She said, listen, it's never too late to start. You're not too old. and start by going to your local airport and taking flying lessons. Well, our local airport is JFK. I knew they didn't do that, but when I got to the hotel, I Googled flight school near me, and all these flight school came up in Long Island, Republic Airport, Farmingdale, about 17 miles from my house, which I didn't know existed.
Didn't know anything about it, right?
Yep. So what I did was when I got home, I made some phone calls. They invited me down, and that's all it took. 5 years later, I'm flying airlines.
What?
Yeah.
That is a crazy story.
Yep. So
that is amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty much my story. If only I knew, I probably, passed her and don't even remember what she looked like. The only thing I remember is she was short,
Okay.
That was it, but it just, shows me that anyone that want information, you always stop and you give it to them because you never know what it could do, whose life you're changing just by, taking 2 minutes out of your time just to, have a conversation with them.
Wow. Okay. So you're living your dreams now.
Pretty much.
Wow, that is amazing. And I know, in that industry, do you find that there are a lot of, African American men or Black men, or Black people,
Okay, so that's something else we have to talk about.
Oh, okay.
All right, so statistics, numbers, never lie, people do. There's 155,000 pilots in the United States. There's only 5,200 Black pilots.
Wow.
That's 3.4%.
Wow.
And out of 5,200 Black pilots, 150 are Black females.
Wow.
Yeah, when I was that's shocking. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
We need to reach out to our kids and let them know, hey, there's a career out there for you.
Yeah. But now that I'm older, of course, I wonder why we were never told about aviation, in high school, because we have both LaGuardia Airport on one side, we got JFK. We're like the mecca of aviation, but we never knew anything about this industry.
Because back in the days, it was white industry.
Right.
I think American Airlines had their first Black pilot in like late 60s.
Really?
Very first.
Wow.
Yeah. And some airlines are just getting their first Black female pilot like recently, like Delta.
Wow.
Like in the last 10 years.
Okay.
So we got a long way to go.
Yeah.
But, we're here to help that happen.
So Arthur, can you tell me how much time did you have to spend in flight school before you were able to actually get a job in the industry?
All right. So there's quite a few licenses that you have to go through, right? The first license is, the first thing you really need to do is take what we call a discovery flight to see if it's something that you want to do.
Okay.
Because you might have flown on the airline and you're like, oh, this is what I want to do. But then you get in these tiny planes and it starts to go up and it's blowing all over the place. And you're like, oh, maybe this is not what I want to do.
Right.
But that's for the first minute. After that, you'll be like, okay, this is what I want to do. After you take control, because that flight instructor is going to say, okay, here, you have control, do whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. And you make a couple of turns and you're like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. Okay. Yeah. So the first license you need to get is a private license. You could actually do 40 hours of flight training and literally take, it's almost like a driving test. It's a flying test. Okay. Not everyone's going to actually get it at 40 hours. 40 hours is just the minimum you need. Most people get it at about an average of 65, 70 hours. I believe I got mine at maybe 60 hours. Okay. Then after that, you're going to need to do what's called an instrument. Instrument rating is how we fly in the clouds without seeing anything. Because when you're in the clouds, it's almost like flying blind. So you're flying by your instruments. So you learn the instruments right after that. Then you go for your commercial. Now, a lot of people have the misconception that, if you have your commercial license, you're flying an airline. No, commercial license only mean that you are now eligible to be paid to fly. It's almost like it's the difference between a regular driver's license and a commercial CDL, a commercial driver's license. You could have a commercial driver's license and don't drive a truck. You could drive a cab with a commercial driver's license. Yeah, so you get your commercial pilot license at about 250 hours. Then after that, you need to bill 1,500 flight hours before you get to the airline. How we do that? Well, I became a flight instructor. So the people that used to teach me, now I'm teaching others to fly. Okay. So, and now I'm getting paid for it. See, so I needed a commercial license to be a flight instructor to get paid, okay, for flying. Mm-hmm. So every hour that I fly with someone, it becomes my hours. So at this point, you start to build your hours pretty much rapidly. Okay. And then before you get to the airlines, you're gonna need to do a multi-engine, which is two engines, twin engines, because the airlines has two engines. You got to learn how to operate two engines. And once you get to 1,500 flight hours, they all come at you. Really? Everybody wants to hire you. Okay, wow. So I put in 10 applications. I got 10 phone calls. What? Yeah, because this industry, it's a mandatory 65 years old retirement. Okay. So people have to retire at 65. At 65. Okay. Yeah. So you got it right on time. It's always they're always looking for pilots. Wow. Matter of fact, they're pretty much below, the average of pilots that they actually need. That's pretty much it in order to actually become a pilot. Once you get there, wow, that's about it. Yeah, and I think if kids knew how, I don't want to say easy, but how realistic it is, they would actually consider it. And you want to know something? It's fun from day one. Really? Because you're flying, mm-hmm. and then it gets more fun once you become an instructor. Now they're paying you to fly. Could you imagine that? Yeah. Something that I would do for free. Right. They're actually giving me money to fly. Right. So I'm like, okay. Nice. Yeah. Amazing. Okay. So we're gonna move on. So the next question is, so we talk about, everything is increasing in price, right? Rent in New York City is crazy. Food costs, gas is astronomical. Are you able to live the lifestyle you want to live by being an airline pilot? In other words, you get paid enough. Like, is this an industry where you can live a great lifestyle? What? All right, let me cut through the chase. Let me cut through the chase. By the time you get to the top of your career, you could be making $300,000 a year. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, it's more than $250,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Starting off, you start off at about 75,000, mm-hmm. and once you get up to about captain, you're over 100,000. And then once you get to the major part of the airlines, then you're at about 150. And once you get up to captain again, because basically you start in the regionals. Regionals is the smaller part of the main line, the main airline. And you start at about 75. Then you get to a captain in the regionals and you're over 100. Okay. And then you get to the major part of the airline and you're back to a first officer where I am, and you're making about 130 to 150. Then you go back up to captain and it's over 250. Mm-hmm. And as you get older, 300 about. Right now in China, they're actually begging pilots to come to China and they'll pay you as much as $500,000 a year. Really? Yeah. And
Wow.
it's not just in a US thing, it's the entire world that's short on pilots.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
don't think they advertise it enough. You know,
No,
I
they
think
don't.
I think young people would be excited to be in the airline industry.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not exactly cheap,
Oh,
to do flight training.
okay.
So there's certain things that we're not privy to, like for instance, swimming lessons. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Right. Although we had a
Tennis.
at our
Yes.
high we had a pool.
Right.
So
So
um
there's certain sports that we as Black people don't
mhm,
partake into, just like there's certain jobs that we as Black people don't partake in because of financial,
mhm.
you know.
Okay.
But there's always loans and scholarships and stuff like that that you could
Mm,
actually,
okay.
go
Oh,
through.
okay. So we gotta, find out some of that information so we can share with the kids.
Yeah.
So Arthur, in your industry, and I think you talked a little bit about it. So is there opportunity for growth? So like what's next?
Oh
Is
yeah.
where you're gonna stay or you think you're gonna move, higher
Well,
or
right now, you know what? I want to actually work. Right now, I work with American Airlines. I want to work with JetBlue.
oh,
Why? Because I'm based in Philadelphia. So that means I have to drive to Philadelphia to start work.
okay.
Once I finish work, which is about 4 days later. Don't think that I finish work that same day and I drive home. No.
Hmm.
So I do 4 days on, 3 days off. And for the 4 days, I'm in different cities every night, or even different state every night. And that last day, I get back to Philadelphia, get in my car, and drive home.
Okay.
You know, so now JetBlue or even Delta actually is based in JFK, which is
Okay.
7 minutes from my house.
Right.
So the golden ticket is to actually live at your base. I
Right.
don't want to move to Philadelphia.
Right. Right.
I have my roots in New York,
Right.
so I want to stay in New York.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay.
So
So,
wait, so as far as you mean like growth, there's a
oh
lot of different growth. So you go from first officer to captain, and you can literally stay a captain, and once you retire, you don't have to actually get out of the business.
oh,
You could retire into now becoming an instructor, a simulator instructor, because we have to get training. So you could start training people,
mhm.
and they make just as much money as a pilot, you know,
Oh, okay.
in the training center. And you could also go into being a chief pilot, a check airman, and each of those, you get more and more money.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different levels to this.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds great. And so, Arthur, what advice would you give someone who's interested in working in this industry? So, a young person who may have had the same dreams that you did as a young boy or girl, what advice would you give them right now as they're sitting in school, trying to figure it out, taking their classes, what advice would you give them?
Find a mentor.
Mhm.
Find someone that's in the airline business. Find a pilot like myself. Reach out to me. You have my name. You can find me on Facebook, and I'll be glad to help anyone because it was someone that helped me. Anyone with information. Information is key.
Mhm.
So that's the first thing. That's the advice that I give to anyone.
Okay.
Because you need to know exactly how to go about it.
Right.
You can't just go into anything blind. You got to have some type of perspective on what's next.
Right.
How long it's going to take me. How much it's going to cost. And a person that's been there and done that could provide all that information.
Right. Well, in terms of the type of student they need to be, what type of student do they need to be? You know,
Well, you know what? A lot of people think, well, a pilot is so smart. and they must know math and calculus and chemistry and all that. That's not true. Okay. As long as you are willing to learn, then you can be a pilot. I'll tell you this. Back in school, in high school, I was one of those kids that would cut classes. And I'm not telling anyone to cut classes,
Yeah, right.
but I used to cut classes and be in the cafeteria playing spades. I was an average C student.
Mhm.
And if I could do it, anyone could do it.
Mhm.
You know, so that goes for the person that think that they're not smart enough.
Mhm.
It's not about smart. As you get older, you get smarter.
Mhm. Right. Right. So experience is everything, right?
Yep.
Okay. And so Arthur, what are some of the perks in this industry?
Perks. Well, I give an example. 3 weeks ago, I got off. Like I told you, I get 3 days off. I decided to go to Jamaica.
Ooh.
So next day I got on a plane for free and went to Jamaica and spent 2 nights and 3 days for free, then got back on a plane for free and came back to work. So
Wow.
yeah, we travel the world basically for free. Now, you're not gonna stay in a hotel for free, but we get deep discounts at all the hotels, but you're getting on any flights for free um, if they have the space for you because you're traveling standby.
Mhm.
But there's so many different flights that you could set yourself up on two different flights. If one don't work out, then you hop on the other one.
Do you have to you can only fly with your airline?
Oh no, I could fly any airline. This is uh almost like a pass. It's known crew member where we don't even go through security.
Mhm.
We go through this little door, and before you know it, I'm in the terminal, and I totally skip the lines. Now, out of the country, that it doesn't work like
Oh.
that. That's just inside the United States. Out of
Oh,
the country,
only
they're like, oh
okay.
no, you got to go through the line.
Mhm.
Yeah, kind
Okay.
of got spoiled.
So is there any place in the world you want to go that you haven't been yet?
I've been to probably probably Australia. I've never been to Australia, but
Okay.
I've been to most countries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Dubai is my favorite.
Wow.
Love Dubai. It's like new and shiny.
Yeah.
It's a new city, so it's only like 30, 40 years old. So
I heard
everything looks brand new.
I heard it's like futuristic. Like it looks like you're in the future. Someone explained it like that.
Uh,
No?
well, they're about to have flying taxis. So when that happens, it will look futuristic.
Okay.
But yeah, they want to do everything bigger and better than everybody else.
Okay.
So yeah,
All
it's a
right.
place to visit.
That's interesting. All right. And final question, Arthur. If you had to do it all over again, would you choose this industry? I'm sure you would. I think we know the answer. But what would you do differently? Like, is there anything you would do differently or not?
Ah, anything I would do differently? Not really, because there's two ways to actually do this.
Mhm.
Okay, you have two types of schools. You have uh part 141 school and you have a part 61 school. The part 61 schools was the route that I went,
Mhm.
which is more of a as you go type program. So if I could fly, let's say only 2 times this week, then it's fine.
Mhm.
Part 61 is more of a rigorous program. It's going to get you finished faster, but it's going to cost you almost twice as much.
Wow.
So yeah, you could get there in 3 years as opposed to like 5 years.
Okay.
But it's more for person that doesn't have much responsibility. Let's say a person coming out of high school or just finished college and they have their mom and dad. But a person like me that has more responsibility, has to go through the Part 61. So would I actually go through a 141 school at my age? No. Maybe if I was younger, yeah. But I would do it the same exact way I did it. Yeah.
All right. Well, Arthur, you know what? Thank you so much. This has been a great experience. I know that the young people have learned a lot, and I'm sure you've inspired a whole group of next generation of pilots. And I'm sure you're gonna get some people reaching out to you. And but thank you so much for sharing with us. And good luck to you. We know that we're gonna see you at JetBlue soon.
Oh yeah.
We're definitely going to see you there.
And worst case scenario, if I don't go JetBlue, just stay at American.
Yeah,
No
absolutely.
big deal.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of me, wanting to have an easier commute.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, kids, chase your dreams, pursue your passion, and never, ever, ever, ever give up. I kind of gave up and it came right back to me.
It was destiny.
Yep, pretty much.
It was destiny. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on our next interview. Goodbye.